Lake Placid, New York, and the snow is coming down in the Adirondacks. A beautiful day here in upstate New York. It is Lake Placid and Mount Van Hoevenberg, home of the 1932 and 1980 Olympic Games. It is the second and final run for the men's bobsled. Let's take a look back at what happened in heat number one. I'm Nick Gismondi alongside Bree Shaw. Glad to have you here along in this one. This is the fourth place sled. This is Nikita Zakharov's sled, finished in 55.18.
An incredible finish for that Russian team, third team on the Russian squadron.
The Germans who finished in that second position, it was Thomas Florschutz piloting this one, a time of 55.17.
He's actually tied with his teammates for second place, which is incredible in a sport that comes down to a 100th of a second.
And as Bree said, the other German team of Maximilian Arndt, their time was at 55.17.
And it's so crazy. We've talked about this before, how you have four different athletes, a different sled, different runners, and come down and have a race be this close. Makes it so much more fun for the rest of us.
And guess who was in that first position? Not a big surprise. It was the Night Train 2. Steve Holcomb, Kurt Tomasevich, Steve Langton, and Chris Vogt with an incredible run of 54.97.
These guys are dominating today. You know, Holke's been in this situation before earlier this weekend where you're so far out ahead, you almost have to falsify that, you know, the nerves to get really sharp for his second heat, because you know he wants to come out. He is a performer and a perfectionist. He does not want any mistakes on his second run.
So Steve Holcomb right now is your leader after run number one, and a look at the World Cup standings, the first heat ranking after that first one. That is Holcomb in that first spot. Maximilian Arndt and Thomas Florschutz tied for second, and Nikita Zakharov into that third, fourth position. A look down the rest of the start list here. 5 sleds not making it, not advancing on. So this is your top 20 from heat number one. Any big surprises out of that heat that you maybe expect to see challenge here in this one as we get a look at the weather conditions? I'll get you your answer in a second. 20 degrees outside right now. Wind out of the south at around 2 miles an hour. Another 1 to 2 inches of snow expected to fall here in Lake Placid as we look at the start list for that second run. And now your thoughts on any surprises potentially maybe coming about in this one.
You know, the surprises may have all come in the first heat when you saw people jumping up way from the bottom. You know, that Russian sled sitting in 4th place is absolutely incredible. The question is, can he hold it? Is his equipment that got him right up there? Did he borrow something from Zubkov? Who knows? We'll see on the second heat here if that was just a miracle run.
Have our athletes autograph that for you. They're all happy to stick around.
So we'll look at the track here as the snow's coming down. They've been working on those grooves all day. They were the reason for about an hour-and-a-half delay in the ladies' skeleton second races today. It actually shortened that competition to just one run, and that had some surprises also. But right now, we are at the top for the second run of the bobsled. The story has been Steve Holcomb and the Night Train 2. They have been absolutely dominant throughout this World Cup in the lead-up to the Olympic Games, and the question now becomes, can they stay perfect here in Lake Placid? They were through 2 two-man bobsled runs. Now can they do it in the 4-man?
It's all about practicing dominance. You want to make that the name of your game for Holcomb. It's consistently dominating the competition, and the more you can do that, the more momentum you have going to the Olympic Games. The more you believe, the more everyone else believes. That adds to your momentum and puts you on the podium. All
right, the Japanese sled will be the first one out of the gate, piloted by Hiroshi Suzuki. He will be joined by Toshiki Kuriawa, Shintaro Sato, and Hasashi Miyazaki.
An interesting start there on his side guide. Most of the time you'll see a brakeman with 2 feet on the block. You have, everyone of course is running on ice. They use ice spikes to run, and then there's a block that's built up about an inch off the ice that everyone pushes off of to hit the sled. He was actually in a split more track stance. That might help an athlete maybe that's more used to track and field and starting off not 2 legs but 1 leg.
Suzuki has been a bobsledder since 1992. He's a 4-time Olympian. They're all on new sleds. They're all been built by a tech company in Japan. So new technology. And we've talked about it before, Bree, in the 2-man, but sleds that are built specifically for you give you a better opportunity.
Yeah.
Not always the case.
Of course, that's the folklore, you know, the old story of that we love so much of Jeff Bodine coming in and helping the American team who is struggling. You know, when you buy someone else's materials, they're not giving you your best stuff.
Yep. And we'll talk more about Jeff Bodine and what he's done for the American program. Of course, we're talking about the night train. But right now, Suzuki across the line, he puts up a 150-186.
Okay.
As you clear the track's now clear from the finish to start one for Little Czech Placid.
So the Japanese sled comes across in 151.86. That is their total time combined from heat number 1 and back up now to the top for the French. Loic Koster, Romain Heinrich, Florent Rebet, and Ellie Lefort pushing here in this one, second out of the gate.
A newer pilot for the French team with a ton of potential, has that sticker on the front of his visor. Chances are he had an instance where that popped up mid-run, hitting his face on the cowling, and that's where you're going to find a piece of tape to make sure that never happens again.
In the sled, clean and out. Good push for them. 1300s ahead, a 5:15, a little slower than their first push, but faster than what we saw out of the Japanese.
Right now by 2/10 of a second.
200s ahead right now for the French.
Here you see him coming across Shady 2. Nice, beautiful line. Watch for the sleds to be parallel, just running through the words of Lake Placid. Late and high off the end of 12. You're going to see that over and over again if they don't get early height.
Back in Lake Placid, the second sled of the competition coming across the line right now. That is the French sled, and high fives because the Japanese sled, piloted by Suzuki, stays out in front. That was Loic Koster piloting the French sled. You see coming to a stop there in the finish. He was joined by Romain Heinrich, Florent Rebet, and Ellie Lefort. They finish 1200s off the pace. That second run time of 56.15.
Just falling off the Japanese team. Watch this sled. He's going in pointed away into 12. That means he doesn't have the early height. He's coming and he's flopping up then, but we did see this in the first run. Some insurance steering. We call that from my old coach, Janis Krassens, buy some insurance. You make sure the sled gets off. You're getting down. He's learning. He doesn't need a crash.
Talked a little bit about the night train sleds. This is night train 1, piloted by Nick Cunningham. Nick Cunningham, Justin Olson, Abram Morlow, and Dallas Robinson. They will be up in this one.
Nick, very experienced on this track. You know he was hoping for a better finish, but it's hard. He only got one run in this sled coming into this race, and every sled has a different feel. You know, it's got different steering. This is all set up to Steve Holcomb's specifications. Maybe Nick expects the sled to drive a different way. It's going to take more than one run to get used to this. He'll probably be disappointed in where he's sitting right now, but it's a process. You got to look ahead to where you want to be.
This sled, though, has some history. A gold medal, a few world championships. It is no slouch. The Night Train 1, a little bit heavier than Night Train 2, but it is built and designed by Jeff Bodine, and they know how to go fast. The Americans are off and running in this one. This is the Night Train 1, piloted by Cunningham for the U.S.
Great line coming out of turn 1 there. It can be a little bit tough to get stable. Nice even line going into 3. This is looking like a much calmer run. Now we're seeing more experience for Nick. Already adapting quickly to this sled. Really a significant difference from his first run to this. He's already almost a half a second ahead of the pace here. Takes a little tap out of Shady, not a problem. Gets on, beautiful line a little early on the 13. Nick is going to be much happier with this run, but it's so frustrating because if he had just had a little more time, it's a home track. You want that chance.
He's smoothing it out. Cunningham is 54 hundredths ahead of the pace right now. He is going to cross the line, and he should be in the lead, and is. Nick Cunningham leads here.
So just have 2 more runs, man.
And here you see Nick coming up a Benham's Bend with just a light tap on the left side there. Barely making it through there, but the key is not skidding. This is a significantly better run for him. It's all about learning. He knows he's an incredible sled now, and now it's a matter of figuring out how to find speed in a sled with such a rich history.
Back up top now, the Polish. David Kupchak, Michael Kasperix, Daniel Zawulski, and Patrick Pitskara.
And here, this is a surprising position to see Kupchak in. You always want to see him do well. He struggled, crashed in the first World Cup in Calgary, and now really showing what he's made of. He knows that he can and drive well enough to be in the top 20. It's just a matter of, you know, getting that start going and having consistent runs.
Up and out of the start here for the Polish. 1800s back after that push.
5.32 push, so they're 18.
That's a little bit nerve-wracking to see him hugging that wall. You do not want to hug the right wall going into 2, because as we saw that bit, quite a few sleds this week, people crashing out of turn 2. That meant they were going in late and catching the end of the turn. Beautiful round, high line coming, dropping out of Shady. There's a lot of speed to be found in Shady if you can be subtle enough and not scared. That's such a tall turn. You're looking at the roof as you're coming through there.
Back in the count on this one, 3200s off the mark. 76 miles an hour for this Polish team. Cunningham is out in front for the Americans right now, and across the line, they will move themselves into second with that run. David Kupchak piloting the Polish sled, and they have moved into second. 2600s back of the American team of Nick Cunningham, Justin Olsen, Abraham Morlow, and Dallas Robinson.
That was, you know, it was a great run by Cunningham. Not necessarily any fault of Kupchak's, but Cunningham has an awesome team. They push well. He's getting an incredible piece of equipment, and they could hang out in that winner's box for quite a while.
So Cunningham is out in front, but that is a great run right there by the Polish. The Japanese, piloted by Suzuki, are currently sitting in that third spot as we go back up to the top now for Simone Bertazzo, the Italian, to pilot his sled with Francesco Costa, Simone Fontana, and Giorgi Berdini.
5:20 start time. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. As the reason he's going after Nick is he's ahead of him, but start time 1100s back. He's got a lot of time to try and make up for here if he's going to pass Nick Cunningham.
400s ahead, but in the red now, down by 900s after that push, and then the subsequent first split.
Here we are. Oh, slamming off of turn 8. What you can't see is if someone does not, if they drop out of turn 7, they go straight to the exit of 8. That's where you see that runner drop, and I can not tell you how much it hurts to slap on a turn 9 like that. That is a painful transition.
There's a reason why they call that Devil's Highway. I think we're seeing it right there.
Oh, it is brutal on the old noggin. Here we go. This is going to be close right to the 100th. Wow!
But they will overtake it. Goodness, that is a surprise. Bertazzo jumps out and he will now take the lead. It was good speed on the lower part of the track that did that for him. They were going around 76.2 miles an hour, and they're ahead by 900ths.
Yeah, it's a testament to Simone's experience. He's been driving a long time. Nick, okay, here we go. You see he's just right off the end of that turn. In that spot right there where we see the runner slap down, that's going to start getting dug out in the ice. That's why you'll see the sleds bouncing around more. The ice is getting chopped up by four-man. And the heads, you watch the heads bounce as they exit.
So the 31-year-old Simone Bertazzo does a good job to get them ahead of the mark right now, and they take the lead, bumping the Night Train 1 2010 Olympic gold medal winning Night Train 1 down into that second spot. But now we're going to go back up top for another American team. This is Cory Butner. He'll be joined by Adam Clark, Andreas Sturble, and Chris Langston.
These guys had a fourth place push on the first heat. A really, really incredible start time. They're going to look to make up some time here and hang out in that leader's box.
Of course, another Bodine sled, Cory Butner, started sliding in 2007. He was actually selected for a recruiting camp in Lake Placid, got the bug, became a driver in 2010 after being a pusher and brake athlete for quite some time.
And he's having a great run here. Cory's looking really good down the track. This is his home track. He started sliding here, he started driving here. And this is where the American team needs to dominate. Anytime you get a home race, you want to just maximize that point accumulation, as of course it all is adding up going towards the Olympics and qualification. A little high on the end of 12. You see that hit. You saw the brakeman bounce up a little bit. Now he's getting it back in control. He was a little late into Bedham's Bend. Skid, tap. Now he's where he's breathing. Get it back under control.
Not a great speed, though. 75.5 miles an hour. They are 1,400ths ahead. They can maintain. They'll cross into the lead, and they will. The U.S. is in 1 and 3.
That 100th, every single athlete in sliding sports has some memory or some scenario where they've had that 100th of a second hanging over their head. Luckily, Butner came out on top. You saw the head shake of Simone Bertazzo there. You see the sled climbing, floating on the end of 12, and he takes that hit. That's why the wall is dug out there. Happens a lot because it's very tricky to get early height, find the pressure, and get off of turn 12.
Holy crap. Hey, y'all go.
And he knows it. He felt that. It is weightless feeling. That's what every single mind in that sled was thinking in one form or another on that run.
Back up at the top now, the Czech team of Jan Verba.
It's actually the Swiss team of Gregor Baumann. Had trouble earlier this week with some crashes. He's no stranger to this track, and yet just the fast ice, cold temperatures makes it really hard to navigate on what is widely considered one of the most treacherous tracks in the world.
Good looking out there, partner. Joined by Patrick Blockinger, Fabio Baudrun, and Thomas Amrain. Gregor took last year off. He's definitely had a bit of a rough go, and maybe that's part of the reason why he's struggling to kind of get back into things, but it has been a rough week for him here in Lake Placid.
He's had a tough couple of weeks. He crashed in Calgary too. You know, surgery, you always think as an athlete, I'm fixing myself. I'm gonna go and this is gonna fix everything. After, of course, you tried to compete hurt for so long. And what that does to you, not just physically, but mentally, is you try and rehab an injury. And bobsled, driving a bobsled, we're talking about making decisions at breakneck speeds. And that is all coming from instinct. And if your mind isn't healthy, if you don't have your mind right, that makes it so much harder to come back from that injury.
Push bar jutted out a little bit right there, sucks back in, no problem, might have cost him a touch. They're actually gaining a little bit of speed here. They're only 600ths back. This is huge, 76.4 right now.
Nice, high line in 17 coming off at 18.
And now he's ahead by 1,500.
Wow, found speed.
Well, Baumann's making a statement and moves himself into first.
That's a product.
Well, what you missed while you were away during break is the Swiss man, Gregor Baumann, who's had a tough week here in Lake Placid. He's crashed a few times, but finds a way to make it all the way down the down the track with some speed and into first. He overtakes the Americans of Butner, Clark, Durble, and Langton. There you see your speeds in the labyrinth, your top speeds. And it was maintained there and passed by Baumann. A great run for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is something, though, that we're acting surprised because he had such a tough weekend, but we really should be expecting this out of Gregor Baumann. He's a great driver. He's just had a rough year, had surgery, and as I was just talking about, when you've had a surgery, it's not just rehabbing your body, you're rehabbing your mind. You're trying to get everything back in business, and sometimes that just takes a little longer.
Now it looks like he's getting the hang of it now. He moves himself into first with that combined time of 1:50.91. Back to the top now. This is the Czech team, the 8th sled out of the gate. Jan Verba, Dominik Dvorak, Dominik Suchi, and Michael Vasek.
Great load. You can tell, you can see the teams that have had a lot of training in an ice house to practice the 4-man push. It is so tricky to load that sled.
A lot of choreography involved in making sure you're doing it right and getting in at the same time. They're ahead right now. Lost a little speed after their good start, their good push. A 5:10 push, but now they are just 700ths ahead.
That push is right in the mix, and something to keep an eye out for as you're watching 4-man is you see the profile of the driver there. If you can see any of the brakeman helmets behind them, that means that they are sitting too high, and you're really seeing them bounce around. That doesn't not only reflect their riding position, but how the track is getting chopped up right now.
76.3 miles an hour. He's got great speed coming into the lower parts. He's just back by 200s.
This is going to be close.
It's going to be real close to the line. And
dropped.
Not. So 700ths back right now is that Czech team. They will not overtake Baumann's Swiss sled, but a great ride here for Verba.
Jan Verba, an experienced pilot, has been on all the toughest tracks in the world, but the typical problem of a small nation just trying to get everything together. He's a great driver, but you need a push, you need a sled, you need equipment. Watch the helmets as they all bounce around. It's one thing to have bad aerodynamic form sitting that high, but you're also slamming your head on the cowling in the rough, tight transitions that this Lake Placid track has.
I have no idea what he just said, but I imagine that was pretty good.
He gave a little Zoolander look to the camera there.
Yeah, Verba finds himself in second right now behind Baumann. The American sled of Butner, Clark, Durble, and Langton is currently sitting in that 3rd spot as we go back up top for the Canadian. Piloted by Justin Cripps. He's joined by James McNaughton, Timothy Randall, and Brian Barnett. Cripps, 26-year-old, actually born in Hawaii, somehow found his way to sliding and this chilly day here in Lake Placid.
You got a good look at a bobsled spike there. That's what's helping them push down the hill. Over 300 sharp needles on the shoe to give you grip on the ice. Those run you about $300+, probably the most expensive shoes I've ever owned.
Best start so far here in this heat, the 5:04 for the team from Canada.
Here coming into the Devil's Highway. This is where things in a 4-man get super tricky. Now, if he drops out too soon, you get that little bit rough transition. A much better 8-9 there than he had the first run. Nice high line, drops right out. That was a great exit to Shady.
He's ahead right now by 2,700ths, but lost a lot of time in his first heat down in the bottom. We'll see if he maintains here.
You're doing that safety steer. You're buying insurance on a turn 12. You're helping it over as a newer pilot, but he helped it over a little bit too early, bumped him down, and really had to save that.
Speed's okay, 76 miles an hour, ahead by 2,100ths into the finish and into first. So the Canadians will make a move, and it is now Cripps piloting his way into that top spot, bumping down Bowman on the Swiss. The first U.S. team out there right now of Butner and Clark, they are down and finding themselves in that 4th position. The other American team of Cunningham, Olsen, Morlow, Robinson are down in the 6th.
That was a significantly better run for Justin Cripps. That's the kind of inconsistency you see in a newer pilot. But right there, you saw how he got a little bit too early on and then yanked that sled off. You know, as a pilot, no matter what, in that turn, if something happens, you just pull and you hand the D-ring to your brakeman. This, however, is perfect. Just lace that chicane, which is going to make up for how 12 felt.
So a nice job here by the Canadians. They find themselves at the top of this one, and still a great run by Bowman and the Swiss. They're in second right now. Verba for the Czechs sitting in third. Really great sliding here in this second heat as we go back up to the top.
That was a great look at game face there by the brakeman.
Francesco Frederick piloting this German team. Alex Mann, Gregor Birnbach, and Thorsten Margis here on this one.
Now you can tell when a team puts a lot of time in practice into how they load and how they ride. Look at these guys, how they're sitting in the sled. You cannot see 2, 3, 4. They are all perfectly parallel, down and low. And aerodynamics over the course of a mile has a surprising effect on your downtime. Ooh, early, put him late. So he took that tap going into shady, put him a little bit late. Then he had to work harder to get off. Anytime you're working harder to get those lines means you're scrubbing time and losing it down the hill.
Francesco, 23 years old, is the reigning world champ in the 2-man. Had a crash in practice in 4-man. See where he's at right here, down by 2,500ths. Tough on the speed at 75.6. Will come across and he'll be off the podium in 4th.
It's unusual to see Germans drop like that. They've got great equipment. They're all well trained. Typically in that German program, if someone might be new to the World Cup Tour, that does not mean they're new to driving. That means they've been on Europa Cup. They've been on all the tracks in the world, and they are ready to come in and assume the position of winning. And there you see him come off late in 9, sideways and skid, and then enter shady late. He goes high in order to relieve that pressure.
Number 1, this is going to be exciting racing.
And climbing high into 17. We've seen this from the Germans a few times.
Have to wonder if maybe that crash earlier in the week maybe weighing on the mind a little bit.
Definitely is going to affect how you steer.
Back up to the top, this is the Russian team of Alexander Zubkov.
Carolino, as always, here.
11th sled out of the gate will be piloted by Alexander Zubkov from Russia. Joining him are Philip Igorev, Maxim Belugin, and Maxim Mokrusov.
Now this is an unusual position to see Zubkov in. He is the Russian pilot. He's been doing this so long, and 4-man really is one of his specialties. To see him this far back, you have to wonder, did he trade runners? Is something going on with the Russian team in order to help qualify a 3rd sled for the Olympic Games? They have the home track. It's all about, it's presentation. They want to show the world what a strong program they have, so they really do need to qualify that 3rd sled.
Well, the 39-year-old who's been competing since 1999 is definitely, as you said, a favorite to win gold in Sochi. A lot on the line, like you said, for these guys. Not to mention some pretty hefty money from the Russian Olympic Federation if they do come away with golds.
It's really, truly incredible how much money is being poured into these Olympics already. I read that they are spending more than the Beijing Summer Games.
Right now, he is behind by 300. See if he can make up a little bit of time at the bottom.
So a little correction there. It's touchy waters if you're going to correct a bobsled in a straightaway. It's so easy to break into a skid, but if anyone can do it, it's going to be someone with the experience of Zubkov.
900's back, not great speed, 75.8, and will move into second with that time. 1400's back, so the Canadian team, piloted by Cripps, maintains that first spot. Bowman, the Swiss team, is down in 3rd.
We saw this before. It's interesting. They stopped really short of the finish dock, and so now they're going to have to push the sled all the way up. Sometimes you do that strategically to save your runners if you know that it's getting hacked up or there's dirt higher in the outrun. So we're going to see him coming out, dropping out of the turn here. He breaks into a little bit skid sit. Now this, going into turn 11, you do not want to hit that right wall. It puts you late in because you're trying to carry height around in order to get early height on a 12. But of course he manages it. But the problem is when you're managing steers, you're not necessarily accelerating the sled like you would otherwise. You want to be dominating this track, not surviving.
So a wave there, and the Russians move themselves into second. We go back up to the top, and the Latvian sled, piloted by Oskar Melbardis, joined by Demants Dryskins, Arvis Velkasti, and Janis Stringa. Melbardis, a young guy, 25 years old, competing since 2006. Now, he is one of the many athletes that we see now piloting that started as a brakeman.
Oh, he was a powerhouse for Jānis Minins, one of the more successful drivers in the Latvian program. But Latvia takes so much pride in bobsled. It's how a program can put out incredible teams when really relatively it's a small nation.
That's a 5.00 start time.
He's been in the driver's seat since 2010. That was his first season. Bronze in the four-man in 2009 in Lake Placid.
Turn 4, you want to look for a lot of height there so you can drop out. It sets you up for the Devil's Highway. So tight are the transitions in there. That's where you see a runner drop. Man, that is where you get shaken up. And then shady, nice big turn, gives you a chance to catch your breath.
Oskar Melbardis also with a bit of a target on his back. He won the test event in Sochi last year in four-man. So that track he's comfortable with, and he's ahead here, 2700ths. Around the bend, trying to maintain it and overtake the Canadians to take the lead, and he will. So Melbardis, the Latvian, is your new leader here in Placid.
I love that tap of the helmet. That is so satisfying as a driver when you have your brakeman tap you on the head and say, good job. Because you know, you're doing your best. You know it's a rough ride for them back there, and it is a team effort. You see the height on the end of turn 8 there. Left front, then left back runner dropping, and really, that's almost T-boning turn 9, which is painful for everyone, but they get settled really quickly.
So Melbardis moves himself out into the lead. Krips is in second. Zubkov, the Russian, is sitting in third. Melbardis is setting himself up for a nice push towards the Olympics. Back at the start in Lake Placid, this is sled number 13, the Dutch sled. Edwin van Kolker, Jeroen Peek, Sabran Jansma, and Arno Clausen. Piloted by Van Kolker, the 34-year-old. He's been at this since 2001.
Now, this is one of those races within a race. We're watching these guys. If they can get a top 8 finish here, they are locking down an Olympic spot. The race within the race, the teams that need to qualify for their own federation to go to the Olympic Games, not just by international racing points. Now, of course, the Dutch are all very tall, something that should be, I mean, we're watching these guys. Lotus sled does not look easy. Now try doing when you're 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", and then getting down as low as they do. It is tough to maintain that low profile.
Definitely a precise choreography in terms of getting into the sled at the start and coming out of that all right. It takes a little bit of precision and a lot of practice. 76 miles an hour right now for this sled, down by 1100ths.
Catches a little edge on the X, gets sucked up on the edge of 17, which was going to make for a frightening 18. Cruises by, drops 2400ths back. He's in second place. Now the question is he going to pop back up? Does someone else fall? His Olympics could be locked up this race.
Moves himself into second place right now with that run. 2400ths back of the leader, Melbardis from Latvia.
That was our booth.
That was actually the broadcast booth, and what took a hit right there from the Dutch.
So there you see, you want to stay on 17 as long as you can, but he took that to the extreme. Runner drops off, still manages to get the early height on 18 and get it off.
All right, so across and in. Edwin Van Kalker was not necessarily thrilled with that at the beginning, but he is in good shape right now. He is sitting in that second spot as we go back up to the top now for the team from Great Britain. John James Jackson, Stuart Benson, Bruce Tasker, and Joel Ferron.
These guys had a surprising season last year and, you know, a lot of success, and yet trouble this year, obviously, because of John Jackson's ankle surgery early in July. And did not give him a lot of time to rehab, but it's really great to see them back up here in the mix, making it happen in four-man.
Yeah, with the torn Achilles, John James Jackson, that injury, it's just incredible to see him out here pushing like this. He had the 6th best start time in that first heat. Let's see where they come out now. The 2nd best, a 5:04.
Man, that is incredible. What the great thing about four-man is that even if the driver is injured, whatever he's losing is buffered by a team that, you know, clearly wants him to do well, and that's a phenomenal push considering Jackson's ankle.
The 36-year-old literally has a team that has his back. He's no stranger to being a tough guy. He's a Royal Marine Commando, a corporal with them. Now retired, but spent some serious time being a very tough guy, and he's ahead now, 1700s.
Jackson with huge speed. A start and speed like that is gonna lock down your run. And that gives him a lot more room for error.
2300s ahead, going about 76 miles an hour into the finish and into first place. Great Britain, piloted by Jackson, is your new leader.
The showmanship. I don't know exactly what happened, but this is my guess. Someone down here on the dock either built that snow pile or they went up so high that they hit all that soft snow up at the top of the outrun.
They were still flying when they came by us.
Was pretty incredible. So much highlight reel action this weekend. I love it. You see him drop off the end of turn 8 there and cross, harsh cross into 9. You see the head slamming the side of the cowling. And now coming out of Benham's Bend, hitting that first chicane.
2200s better in the second run than he was in the first. Look at that. That's correct.
That is fantastic.
Very good job.
John James Jackson, your new leader from Great Britain, back up the top right now for our 15th sled. This is the team from Russia. Alexander Kazyanov, Alexei Negodelio, Dmitry Trunikov, and Alexei Pushkarev are in this one here.
Of course, this is Russia too. Not the last Russian sled to go, but the surprising third Russian team going to be up after him. Ooh, a little flop up too. We saw a lot of trouble there this week. The way it's cut, if you go in late, it's really hard to save yourself.
Well, Kazyanov, a four-man specialist, no doubt, look to challenge for some medals. He's gonna have to get faster here, down by 300s.
I mean, he's known for the ability to find speed in the track, but he's gonna need a lot more. He's back 1100s, he's losing time. Ooh, that was a pretty good chicane. I'm sure that gave him a nice, gentle entry onto 17. I like that.
He's about a kilometer back in what we saw on the speeds from the Great Britain team. Don't know if he's going to be able to crack it here. He will not. Does move into a podium position in third, but Jackson continues to lead for Great Britain.
Kazyanov not happy to, but of course, really, really cool for that Great Britain team that's hanging out in the leader box now. I believe that guaranteed the Brits a top 6 finish. Huge, especially considering their success last year. They're gonna find it a nice visit revisiting that top position.
Yeah, they're in good spot in a good spot right now, sitting in the winner's box. A little cold though out there.
It is, and now the snow is coming down. It's a little bit bitter, but you know what? What keeps you warm? Winning.
Exactly, winning.
Nothing like a winning coat.
You get a look at the current standings right there. Jackson in the lead, followed by Mel Bardis and Kazyanov. 30-year-old Chris Spring driving the Canadians here in this one, joined by Cody Sorensen, Jesse Lumsden, the 2013 Winsport World Push Challenge champ, and Ben Copewell.
That was a great load. That was, you can tell the Canadians have their own start house, the only ice push facility in North America. And you can see that time on the track, really precise, beautiful load there by these guys.
Now Jackson was only 100th of a second behind Spring in that first run. That's how close these two are. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out of this Canadian performance. They are back by 800ths at the moment. We'll get you speed in a second. Now falling off 1200th back. 76.2 is the speed, and that is also about a kilometer down from what we saw from Jackson and his Great Britain team.
You know, and all things considered, Spring is having a great run. Everything looks really clean, but that can be the frustration of bobsled, is you can get down, have had a beautiful run, but maybe you drove a little bit too much to get those lines. You don't know.
Doesn't have enough to crack the top of the podium, makes himself into that second spot right now, 1900ths back of the team from Great Britain. Mel Bardis now falls to that third spot, but still good standing for them. The Canadians put up a good performance. Chris Spring, the 30-year-old, with a bit of a thumbs up right there. Calgary native. He grew up in Australia, though, and he really was trial by fire. 3 seasons, and then boom, the Olympic Games. Here's another look at his start.
Now watch as these guys load. Foot on the bunk, foot on the bunk. It's got to go one after another and then sit down at the same time. That is a tight fit. The more athletic and fast these guys are, the bigger they are, which makes it so hard to fit into that sled.
Back up top, 17th sled out of the gate. 3 to come after this one. This is the Russian team of Nikita Zakharov, Ivar Huzin, Peter Mosiv, and Kirill Antuk.
This is going to be one of the more exciting runs of this race. Now we're going to see if it was just first run magic or if there's something going on with this third Russian team.
Well, they did have an incredible performance back in heat number 1, and they have a lot of eyes on them right now. And the question becomes, this track is getting faster. By chance or for real?
Now the way this works is you're trying to qualify 3 sleds for the Olympics, is only the top nations get a third sled. So not only, it's the top 3 nations, not only are they battling for that third spot, but you have to beat the third sled of the nation below you. Oh, we saw that earlier, trying to get that push bar in. It doesn't look like much, but any small thing sticking out of the sled is going to cause drag. And over the course of a mile, that's air braking against it. It's really going to slow down. That accumulates all the way down.
You can see it hanging out still. Probably better at this point to leave it than to throw a hand out and try and grab it.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do that while you're going down.
Might have sucked in now and latched into position. Can't quite tell from our camera angles here. They are back in the clock right now by 3100ths.
Oh, these guys are way back. Now, I don't necessarily believe that it was all the push bar. Could be inexperience. He's still a relatively new pilot.
Well, he's only going about 75 miles an hour, 4,300ths back. This is not going to be as good of a run as we saw from him in heat number 1. So Jackson remains atop the podium for Great Britain.
Now we saw their huge drop from the third Russian team, but making it tough to tell. We've been trying to diagnose exactly how someone can come from 18th position all the way up to 4th. There you see the push bar that's hanging out. That his brakeman's going to reach up and try and grab it, and it's stuck, it's stuck. Okay, leave it. Luckily, bobsled is so violent that eventually the track is going to regulate and put everything in place.
We talked about the match within the match, the game within the game. Van Cocker and the Dutch are currently sitting in 5th with 3 sleds to go. That means they can do no worse than 8th, which is good for them in terms of their Olympic bids.
By far their best finish, and you know, they've been here a lot. They get a lot of time in the Lake Placid track.
Three sleds to come, 2 Germans and the American team. This is the first one, the 18th sled. Thomas Florschutz, Ronnie Lissner, Kevin Kuski, Christian Poser.
5 5:10 start time. Not what you would expect to put someone in a top 3 position, but he had the best run of the first heat. Absolutely flawless.
Floor shoots, the 35-year-old, has a silver from the 2010 games in 2-man. Competing since 2006. His older brother Andre is a luge athlete. All right, he's behind now.
Early.
Yeah.
Having trouble, 800s behind, nice high round line and shady gaining on nice and early 11. You want to hang on to 11 to allow you to cross over to 12. Yarns it off, you can see the back end kicks out on the sled as he steers so hard to get off turn 12.
He has always picked up some speed at the very bottom, but 76.3 is not as fast as the Brits. Now he loses a little bit more. He's 1500s back. Can he get some at the very bottom? I don't think he will. Oh, and he moves into second though. So some celebration and jubilation on the winner's box from the Brits. John Jackson will be coming away with his first ever World Cup medal, and that's why it was a little bit more exciting for him than normal. Floor shoots moves into the second spot, and Spring, the Canadians, are down into the third.
That is so cool to see. You know, when you're in the Olympic Training Center in the cafeteria, seeing John limp around, to now see him in the winner's box, about to podium for the first time for the Brits, that is so, so cool.
Quite a story for him. Recently, off of that Achilles injury, he does limp around, and now he is in real good position. He will come away with some kind of a medal as we go back up top. Second to last sled, this is the Germans, Maximilian Arndt, Ben Herbart, Alexander Rodiger, and Martin Butzi.
You can see Team Jackson down at the bottom waiting to see if they can even bubble up farther.
Well, there will be a couple big ones to come here. This and then the Americans of Holcomb. Tomasevich, Langton, and Fote.
This guy's first start was a 5:07. 5:08, a little bit slower, but there's also quite the weather system moving around here. Little drop, you know that drop isn't necessarily bad as long as the sled stays put. A lot of times you'll take a drop over steering longer and skidding any day.
Snow is falling here. Doesn't really affect this track too very much because it is all pretty much enclosed. Down by 500ths.
You can see that line, watch those parallel lines through the Lake Placid. As a driver, you're trying to plant the sled just above those.
I can tell you right now, we're down here. The British team isn't even looking at the monitor. They're so nervous.
They're all so straight-faced, bouncing around.
1800s back right now. One more sled to come after this. Where will the Germans end up?
Whoa.
Down in sixth.
That was a huge drop. Of course, racing is tight and decided by just mere hundredths on the World Cup level, but wow, you do not expect a German team to drop that much.
Is the track in trouble? Is it the snow that's falling, or is it just bad driving?
You know, it's been a long weekend. I blame 3 days of racing. These guys are all exhausted. The Germans do not like Lake Placid. It is nothing like the tracks they're used to in Europe. But these guys they're great drivers normally, but have been kind of all over the place.
What this also now means is that John James Jackson's first World Cup medal will be no worse than silver.
He found it, he got a little upgrade.
He did get a little upgrade right there.
That is so, so cool for him.
So he is currently sitting in the first spot. Floor shoots is in second, and the Canadian team of Spring, Sorensen, Lumsden, and Coquel are in third. But right now, back at the start, it is USA #1, Night Train #2, the United States team of Steve Holcomb, Kurt Tomasevich, Steve Langton, and Chris Fote. Can they continue to be perfect? They had the fastest start in run 1, and they'll do it again here.
Wow.
4.97 out of the gate.
Just 100th off. These guys are competitors. They're going to get after it every heat. Little tap left before turn 3. I think that happened to him first run, but Holke's going to get it right back under control. He's got 2 tenths to work with from the first heat, already 31 hundredths ahead.
Holcomb looking good right now. We'll get speed for you shortly, but he is 31 hundredths out in front as Bree just said. Now slows a little, 25 hundredths. We do normally see him pick up speed as he goes.
but this is where his skill is going to shine. If anyone can come back and accelerate the sled, it's Holke's 2100's back again. That little skid could hurt him. That's uphill on the track.
76.3 miles an hour right now for Holcomb, down by 1600ths. Let's see if he can maintain it across the line.
700.
And into first, Steve Holcomb, and the night train rolls into the station with another gold medal. And they remain perfect here in Placid on home soil.
Another great win for Holcomb, but you know what? He's not gonna like a 700th win. You know, he's gotten a little greedy in this winning streak, and you know, a win's a win, but he's gonna go back and analyze that run and figure out, okay, I like a little bit more of a cushion.
Chug it, choo-choo. And Steve Holcomb holds up the #1. He is #1. A very big win here for the World Cup leader. And this just sets him up beautifully for what is to come, all moving forward into 2014.
You know, it's crazy how much in bobsled is a mental game. We're talking about, you know, you're going at...
Merry Christmas, guys.
That was sweet, folks. You're going at breakneck speeds, and you're not making decisions. It's going too fast for that. You are flowing with the track, you know, and it's about keeping positive and really just owning that winning streak.
Well, this crowd gives him a very big cheer and lots of hugs in the finish line. As you see, that is Jeff Bodine right there, the man behind the night train. And a very big and proud day for Jeff Bodine, a man who has done so much and put so much into this sport and helped this American program, specifically this team of Steve Holcomb, out so very much. Let's get another look at the run at the top here.
You can see these guys know what they're doing. Holcomb's team trains constantly in that ice house we've talked about in Calgary to make sure that they have the best, not just start time, but velocity, which is what gives Holcomb so much time to work with down the track. Of course, it helps to be one of the best drivers in the world.
A gold medal for Steve Holcomb here in Lake Placid will go nicely on the shelf with the gold medals from Park City and from Calgary. But the real prize comes in Sochi. Can anybody beat him in Russia?
You know, last year's test event, you know, was tough on him. The American contingent had a little bit of difficulty there, but this is going to make a huge statement. And I'm telling you, that momentum going in does help you.
So John James Jackson finishes in that second spot, and his first World Cup medal is a silver. And the Germans, Thomas Florschutz, finishes down in third with bronze. The Canadian Chris Spring comes away just off the podium in the fourth spot.
You see Latvia jumped up to a 5th place finish. They had a very low start number from getting disqualified in one of the earlier races. And of course, of great importance is Van Kalker with an awesome finish qualifying for the Olympics.
He does a nice job, but the story here in Lake Placid on American soil is Steve Holcomb remains perfect.
Look at God. Look at this. Mortgage is too much, see?
Back in Lake Placid and a look at the World Cup standings. Steve Holcomb adds to the lead with 675 points. Maximilian Mark, the German, is in that second spot, and the Canadian Chris Spring is sitting down in third as the season gets set to focus now fully on the Olympics. As you see in the background, the snow continuing to fall here in beautiful Lake Placid as we round out the World Cup standings.
These are all just dress rehearsals for the show.
The big event coming up in February at the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympic Games, where Steve Holcomb will look to continue that perfect streak. Back in Lake Placid, New York, and we're going to send it down to John Morgan, who is at the finish line with all of the winners as the flowers are being presented. Steve Holcomb and his team come away with the gold. Jackson finishes in second with the silver, and Floorshoots finishes in third with the bronze. A terrific performance as the Americans continue to remain absolutely perfect. Let's take another look back at their run, Bree Schaaf. It is the quintet of Steve Holcomb, Kirk Tomasevich, Steve Langton, and Chris Folk.
And here watching, you know, it is hard to pick apart yet another winning run. Winning is Holke's business, and when you've got a start in a crew like he does, he's just destined for success. Here we see him dropping out of 7. Nice early line on going 7-8. That is something you did not see often today, and definitely helped him accelerate and maintain that lead.
A terrific performance, and you mentioned it, he might be a little upset because he only won by 700ths, but it's still a win, and Steve Holcomb remains perfect with the boys. So it is Holcomb, Tomasevich, Langton, and Folk coming away with the gold medal here in Lake Placid on a cold and snowy day in the Adirondacks. The number one, something that Holcomb is getting very used to, hitting at about 76 miles an hour was the speed that Holcomb was going, and we'll go down now to the finish where our John Morgan is with the winners on the podium. John, out to you.
Third place, Team Thomas Floorschutz. Good way to finish in North America.
Ja, also wir sind sehr glücklich. Wir hatten mehr Tiefs als Hochs hier in Amerika. Wir sind am richtigen Wege. Die letzten beiden Tage im Zweier schon, heute im Vierer. Also wir sind sehr glücklich und freuen uns aufs Weihnachten und Neujahr.
They're very happy with the finish. They've had more high points than low points. It was a good way to finish in North America. Congratulations and Merry Christmas, guys. See you in Winterberg. Now over to a historic making team. John Jackson, you tore your Achilles in July. The Great Britain, you've never medaled before in the World Cup medal, and here you are winning a silver medal today. You must be ecstatic.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for us. We've had a hard summer, you know, with me, you know, rupturing my Achilles, and it's a detriment to my team behind me. These boys are in great shape, and, you know, it's great to be coming close to the Americans on their home track.
You guys proved it's a team sport today. Congratulations. Over here to Team Holcomb, you know, a little closer than we thought, huh? The track falling apart?
Yeah, I mean, it's still getting used to the new sleds. You know, the transition from 2-man to 4-man is still difficult, but the day goes, these guys behind me, 2 great starts kept us in the mix, and that was huge. I mean, I never would have imagined we'd sweep 7 races in a row. It's unbelievable. These guys have done their job, and now it's up to me to keep it going. So,
off to Europe, you guys. Congratulations. Merry Christmas, everybody.
And a Merry Christmas to you as well, John Morgan, and all of our competitors as well as viewers around the world. It is Team Holcomb coming away with the gold medal. They are 7-4-7. Absolutely incredible. Jackson finishes with the silver, a nice way to earn his first ever World Cup medal. And Floorschutz, the German, finishes in third with the bronze. Bree, final thoughts.
Oh, this was a great weekend to have multiple races on home soil. America really did us proud.
The tour will pick up in Europe after the holiday break. It has been a lot of fun and a lot of snow in Lake Placid. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations to all the competitors. For Bree Schaaf, I'm Nick Gismondi. So long from Placid.